The Reverend Dr. John Lee joined us in 1995, and he had a difficult challenge. He was asked to share the senior pastorate with Margaret Rush Hankins. And frankly, some of us in the church were skeptical that this dual leadership role would work. But John met the challenge, and he showed us strong and effective leadership. He's remembered as an intellectual and a very caring minister. He touched many of our lives. He also taught us to think for ourselves. And this is a trait that he tried to teach his children as he read Bible stories to them. This is a son of a Methodist minister who's laughing at this joke already. Well, John Lee is reading to his son Jeremy from the Old Testament. A man named Lot was warned to take his wife and flee out of the city. But his wife looked back and was turned into salt. Jeremy, thinking for himself, just as John had taught him to do, said, "Dad, what happened to his flea?" Would you join me in welcoming John Lee?
Charlie, I wish Jeremy would have sat long enough to listen to a story that long. I've waited years for such an opportunity, and I've instructed the maitre d' to lock the door. I've got a few things I want to say that I didn't get said in the 2 years that I was there. I had a wonderful time in the 2 years that I was with you, and I was kind of worried about that introduction, Charlie, because it kind of sounded like maybe it was difficult to work with Margaret. Where are you, Margaret? We stayed out of each other's way. She came to work on 2 days a week, and I came on the other 2 days. It was really easy. It was kind of thing. I've just thought of a host of things that come to mind as I think about my time at the church. I really felt that I shared a lot of very deep and significant experiences with many of you. I'm not going to speak to those tonight because my heart won't let me do that. I couldn't handle it. But there were some fun things that I would like to share with you. I remember the first shock at Hope. I went to a church supper, and Dave Christensen prepared a chili. It took the head right off my shoulders. You know? David, where are you? That's the hottest stuff I ever tasted in my whole life. And I grew up on the Mexican border. I'll do that. And one of the other shocks, this is typical of Methodist ministers. Sam Day started a 6:30 a.m. men's Bible study and left town. And guess who inherited it? You know, and folks, I'd watch all these glazed eyes come in at 6:30. They couldn't find the table, much less the coffee pot. And some of the wives in the 2 years I was there would come to me later, and they just couldn't understand it. When they would start, they would say, "I'm concerned about my husband." And after looking at those starry glazed eyes for 2 years, all I could say, "Yeah, I understand." Two of the more serious sort of things that I would like to share. One is how much your pastors have cared for you. And particularly thinking of something Margaret did Sunday after Sunday after Sunday when we worked together. I'm sure you've forgotten this already, Margaret. But those of you who know me, you know I can't sing. I don't even sing in the shower. I mean, it's that bad. And we'd start that last hymn, and Margaret, Sunday after Sunday after Sunday, would give me an elbow and say, "Turn off your mic." Don't deny it, Margaret, you know you did it. She was very concerned that you not have to endure what I was doing. Charlie, when you talked about the stained glass windows, space is very important to me. And the way I began every day at Hope was I would go into the nave, and I would find where the sun was coming through one of the stained glass windows. And I would sit with that light and its many colors on me, and that's where I would do my meditation every morning. And it helped me to get in touch with with the color and the history and the life of the people who gave those windows and made them available to all of us. And the next time Steve and Margaret's preaching, you can't listen, just move over in front of one of those windows and let the sun give you a sermon on its own. John, you said earlier that Hope's gift to you was Wyoming. Well, I started out in Wyoming, and Wyoming's gift to me was Colorado. No. And I do thank you all very much for the 2 years I was with you. It was a great time, and I see it's all uphill from here on. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Maybe I should have told Dr. Lee that Margaret is going to get second chance here at him. Margaret Rush Hankins first served Hope as our district superintendent. In 1995, she returned from vacation to learn that she had been appointed co-senior pastor and was charged with finding someone to work with her. And I by no means meant to suggest that you were difficult to get along with. She and John Lee made this unusual arrangement work. And in fact, we've continued that, our present arrangement with Margaret and Steve. Margaret has blessed us with her many talents and her dedication. Who among us have seen Margaret finish an infant baptism? When she walks up that center aisle and holds that baby and says to us, "This is the newest member of your family," how can you fail to be touched? Margaret and her spouse Jim have been valuable members of our leadership team as we go into the new century. Margaret has always tried to teach people about Christian charity. One morning she was fixing some pancakes for her sons. And you know how kids are, they always want to get the first pancake. Well, the boys were fighting over who's going to get the first pancake. Margaret thinks this is a great opportunity, so she said, "You know, I believe if Jesus were here, he would say, 'Let my brother have the first pancake, I can wait.'" And Joel turns to Jason and says, "Jason, you be Jesus today." Will you join me in welcoming to the podium Margaret Rush?
Well, I stand in this glorious line of splendor here, and I know when you're the fifth pastor speaking, and there's another one yet to come, you better make it short. That's the first rule of thumb. John, what I remember is that on our very first Sunday at Hope, we were wearing white robes, and Sam had always worn a black robe. Isn't that right, Sam? Gray robe, okay. And we had wonderful people there, and this one little girl said as we walked in the house, "Look, Mommy, Mary and Joseph." So it was a great pageant, and it still continues. And as I said in my recent sermon, Steve and I really are the beneficiaries of all the wonderful people who have gone before us. And from Bob's time on, we've had pastors who've created an atmosphere of help and a can-do atmosphere and have left deep foundations of faith. And I felt that all we had to do was just walk in and try to keep that going. But when I think not only of my clergy colleagues, but of all of you, I think it's known when Terry says that she uses you as an example, she doesn't mean the pastor, she's known us too long, so she doesn't use us as the example, but I think she is referring to all the wonderful lay people here. And tonight is one tiny example, one large example of who you really are, because Steve and I have had very little to do with this occasion. The wonderful committee took this occasion and ran with it. And that's the way it is at Hope. It's the faithfulness of the lay people, those who were here at the beginning, those who came along at different eras. It's all of you who really have made Hope what it is today. So all I can say is just thank you. You're in my heart, you're in my life. I love being at Hope. It's just a vital, vibrant community. And so thanks to my predecessors at the church, my clergy colleagues, John and Bob and Sam and all those who were mentioned are here. And I would like to mention one other name, and that's District Superintendent Noble Kine, who really played such a large part in the formation of our congregation, and he was a personal mentor for me through the years. So God bless you, and I'll let the party continue.
Thank you, Margaret. When Margaret was the district superintendent, though, we heard, maybe she didn't say it, but somebody said, you know those people over at Hope Church? They've got too many chiefs, and not enough Indians. But sometimes when you get things, or you want to get things done, that's a good thing. Steve Miller came to us in 1997 and served until the present time as the co-senior pastor with Margaret. Steve brings a wealth of talent, and his abilities in music and drama, I think, add particularly to our worship. He often uses humor in his sermons and in his children's moments. Steve is open to new ideas and is working on a contemporary service so that we can reach out to more members to be part of our clan. Steve and his wife, Lissa, helped develop the drama ministry at Hope Church, are mostly hopeful players, and they're helping us to find new ways to worship God with enthusiasm and dedication. Steve told me that he owns one of those huge old family Bibles that's been in his family for years. It's apparently about this thick, and one of those like that your great-great-great-great-great-great-grandma started writing in. Well, once his daughter Emma was thumbing through this Bible, and an oak leaf fell out that Lissa had put in there to be squeezed by the weight of the book. And Steve was a little concerned because this is a family heirloom. He said, Emma, what is that? She said, I think it's Adam's underwear. Please join me in welcoming to the podium Steve.
Thank you. I feel like you've heard that term, standing on the shoulders of giants. I kind of feel that way up here. It is a real blessing to be in Colorado still. It's a real blessing to be in ministry with my friend and colleague, the very talented, very knowledgeable Margaret, who's taught me more than I ever want to know about church administration. And just being a good pastor. She's wonderful. I'm well into my 4th year at Hope Church, and just now I don't hear so much about, well, Sanday or, well, John Lee. And here you are, you're back. Good Lord willing, and the bishop don't find me, I hope to be here for a long time. Thank you.
How many of us have been inspired by songs that we couldn't sing? John Lee. How many of us have been inspired by music that we couldn't play? Hope has a long tradition of music for the glory of God. Barb Lair was involved in the music ministry from the beginning and has continued. Barb, we thank you for your service. Some of the first musical instruments were guitars. And Kate Pudlick told me that one time she played the auto harp, even though she couldn't play the auto harp. Vibrant and enthusiastic singing is a hallmark of Hope Church worship services, except when we get to those songs that we don't know. The directors of music have included Barb Lair, Jane Hoskinson, Michael Nash, Sally Robertson, Paul Smith, and today, John Polinsky. Piano and organ music has been provided through the talents of Marge Hagan, Jeanette Palmer, Lynette Maynard, and today, Ted Loveland. Our music ministry includes the traditional chancel choir, which sings many of the traditional offerings that you find in most churches. But sometimes they offer non-traditional music, such as Broadway tunes, rock and roll, old-time gospel, and my 2 favorite kinds of music, country and western. Recent summers have brought us the walk-in choir, which I thought was amateur hour, but actually has gone over pretty well. The Rainbow Choir, the Sunshine Choir, the Carol Choir have included countless of your children. Older youth have sung with the Voices of Hope and the Faith Singers. The bell choirs, both for the adults and for the children. We've also enjoyed the musical renditions of Promise, The Perfect Blend, the Blue Heron Singers, the Gospel Quartet, and opera singer Irene Friedlow. We also enjoyed the music of Hope's Brass Ensemble, as well as Bob Horish and Cheryl Wood on the trumpet. The people of Hope take seriously the commandment in Psalms to make a joyful noise unto the Lord, all ye lands. It may not be beautiful but it's joyful. We are pleased to have our current music director, John Polinsky, with us tonight. John has introduced me to the restorative powers of country music. He said, all you have to do, Charlie, is play it backwards. Your dog comes back to life. Your old pickup truck will start right up and hum right along, and your mama gets out of jail. At one time, our fourth graders had a kazoo band, and John attended the performance. When the band broke into Tchaikovsky's overture from Romeo and Juliet, tears were streaming down John's face. And one of the proud mothers came over and said, John, you must be a hopeless romantic. And he said, no, ma'am, I'm a musician. Please join me for our musical renditions this evening in welcoming John Polinsky.
All right, you have your sheets before you, but before we start, let's give a tremendous hand for Charlie. He's been a great MC. Just fantastic. Okay.
Hope is a singing church.
Okay. Let's sing your first one on the first sheet. You all know this song, everybody. Here we go. Sing a song, sing out loud, sing a song, sing of the things not bad, sing of happy, not sad, sing a song, make it simple to let your whole heart go. Don't worry, it's not good enough for anyone else to hear. Sing a song. So let's sing it. Here we go. La 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 la. Sing a song. Oh, right at the bottom of the first sheet. Oh, when you're smiling. Oh, when you're smiling. Come on, let me hear ya. The whole world smiles with you. When you're laughing. When you're laughing. The sun comes shining through. But when you're crying, you bring on the rain. So stop your sighing. Be happy again. Keep on smiling. 'Cause when you're smiling, the whole world smiles with you. All right, good start. Give yourself a hand.
Well, John and I wanted to start off the entertainment portion of the evening with a song from 1975. The biggest show that opened on Broadway that year, and it really has been 25 years since the Chorus Line opened. It's just recently closed as one of the longest running shows in Broadway history. This song is from the Chorus Line. Yes,